And are there things the community and the school can do to help our young people process or be able to process these emotions? You mentioned, I think it was Dr. Upshur, could be either one of you, about creating spaces for older kids, for instance, to maybe you invite friends over to help them process. Oh, I think it was Dr. Bren, about, because it's so important for those older kids to have those peer connections in moving through some of these emotions. I'm wondering if you could offer some thoughts on the larger community and or the school community, on how we could set ourselves up to help kids process these feelings.
As a community, I think it's just so important that we just talk about these things, right? That we're having these types of talks and we're doing these types of activities, because, you know, just talking about it, as you know, many people who have been in treatment know, helps, right? Like labeling it, talking about it, you know, that kind of thing helps. I also think peer-to-peer is, for adult to adult and child to child and adolescent to adolescent, is also really reassuring, because I think in a vacuum, it feels really anxiety provoking to figure out like how to solve all this alone. So I think, sort of similar to what Sarah said, like getting the peers together is a great idea. It's also normalcy, and routine is extremely important in times of stress and uncertainty. You know, doing things you enjoy and having routines is really important. So I think all of those types of things are a great way to start. I don't know, Sarah, if you had anything else to add.
Well, what you just said, Emily, made me think about the fact that a lot of times when people go through something that's scary and they have whatever feelings they have about it, they're having them inside, right? And not everybody, most people are having them inside. And you can't tell just by looking at the people in your math class that they're having feelings inside. And so you got this kid sitting in math class having a lot of worry, and they're looking around and everyone just looks like they're doing math. And the reality is most kids in that class, many of them are probably having worries, you know, after something like this, but you can't see it. So then kids are left there thinking, gosh, this is just me. And so I think when we have an opportunity, like this comes up a lot when I recommend that, you know, I have patients and I'll say like, hey, I think group therapy would be really helpful. And the reason why I often recommend group therapy to certain people is because I want them to know that they're not the only person having this feeling, and that actually a lot of people are going through a similar experience. And so when something like this happens in a community, I think it is very helpful to have groups, not like formal group therapy for, you know, the entire grade, but have breakout sessions, you know, allow teachers to throw the lesson plan out for an hour and just say, how is everybody doing? Do we want to talk about this? And because I think kids, especially the older kids, need to know that other kids are having internal experiences and then talking about it out loud, so that nobody is sitting there being like, I must be the only one that's having trouble because I'm sitting in math and I can't focus.
And I think the same thing exactly goes for parents. You know, I have plenty of, you know, friends and parents who are like, I totally blew that conversation this morning. And I said, Emma, I always saying, it's not too late. It's okay to revisit. They're like, well, I told my kid there was no school because the building broke, you know? And I'm like, it's okay. You didn't make a mistake. It's fine. You can always have an opportunity to sort of like circle back to these things. And I think giving, you know, I always say to my kids, and I want to say to all parents, is nobody's perfect. We're all going to make mistakes, and we have to just grow from them. And the more transparent we are about that, you know, oh, I had a really bad parenting moment. I totally like pushed my kid out the door when they were totally anxious, or, you know, whatever it is, it sort of diffuses some of the stigma really around talking about these things, and empowers people to have, you know, more coping, or to share their coping strategies, or, you know, or to have human connection, which in and of itself can be very soothing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I mean, I just even look around at this group right here. I mean, I think some of us thought to do this, but we're all here because at least for me, I can look out at these 23 people and feel like, okay, we all feel a little bit the same way. And that's just really comforting. It's a connection that goes a long way, even after we hang up. So I can appreciate that kids need the same thing.